Hello and welcome everyone to the daily news analysis of 4th of October 2023। तो आज के इम्पोर्टेंट आर्टिकल जितने सारे हिंदू न्यूज़पेपर से हैं वन बाय वन पहले देख लेते हैं। चलिए, पहला जो है शॉट इन द आर्म, देन द ट्रबल विथ ए नोबल फॉर mRNA कोविड वैक्सीन, देन यूजिंग AI और ऑडिट टेक्निक्स, द शटडाउन ऑफ द अफगान एम्बेसी, then how has Nagorno-Karabakh standoff ended? Toilet use declining in rural India since 1819, according to World Bank. Then Trio wins Nobel Prize in Physics for finding a way to see electrons. Manufacturing the PMI slips to 5 months low. Then next जो है World Bank keeps India financial year 24 growth forecast at 6.3% on waning demand. 6.3% ऑन वार्निंग डिमांड। तो चलिए देख लेते हैं जितने सारे नो आर्टिकल्स हैं आज। पहला जो है शॉट इन द आर्म, सक्सेस ऑफ कोविड-19 mRNA वैक्सीन पिक्ड द नोबेल विनर्स दिस ईयर। ऑल nominees for the Nobel Prize in physiology or medicine has a path-breaking achievement to their credit, but often the final choice of the winner might have a lot to do with the timing and the context. Catalin Carrico and Drew Weissman would have thus been safe bets for their work that enabled the development of effective mRNA vaccine against COVID-19. The 2023 Nobel announcement comes as no surprise given that the benefits of the discovery are still keeping people alive and out of hospitals. It also ticks all the boxes. The Nobel Prize for Medicine must be awarded for a discovery that would confer the greatest benefit of mankind, which mRNA undoubtedly did. This Nobel is also significant in that it recognizes the contribution of a woman of science. 13 women have now won the Nobel Prize for Medicine out of 225 awards awarded, and only 62 women have won any Nobel Prize against 894 men so far. The best outcomes inevitably emerge from intersectoral collaboration and steadfast scientific research conducted against all odds. Hungarian biochemist Catalin Carrico became fascinated with mRNA when it was a mere possibility. In human cells, genetic information encoded in DNA is transferred to a messenger RNA or mRNA, and this is then used as a template for protein production. Proteins are the main structural component of the cells and play a key role in growth and repair. During the 1980s, a method called in vitro transcription permitted the idea of using mRNA for vaccine and therapy to take off, but enthusiasm to work on this flagged down as several hurdles emerged, including challenges in delivery and inflammatory reactions. Undeterred, Carrico kept on the course of developing methods to use mRNA for therapy. When she was an assistant professor at the University of Pennsylvania, she was then joined by the immunologist Weissman, who was studying dendritic cells that have important functions in immunosurveillance and activations of vaccine-induced immune response. Over the years, by making base modification to the mRNA, they managed to ease delivery path and get rid of the inflammatory reaction. And inchoate idea was finally teased into fruition. This was in 2005, 15 years before COVID-19 pandemic, but the time and the context arrived in 2019 when scientists thought the mRNA vaccine to instruct human cells to make the S protein found on the surface of the COVID-19 virus. This causes the body to create antibodies which will fight the viruses. If the individual were to contract the infection, the rest of course is history. Then next जो है the trouble with a novel for mRNA COVID vaccine. The 2023 Nobel Prize for Physiology or Medicine has been awarded to Katalin Karikó and Drew Weissman for developing the mRNA vaccine technology that became the foundation for history's fastest vaccine development program during the COVID-19 pandemic. The prize acknowledges work that has created benefits for all mankind, but if we had to be stricter about holding scientific accomplishment up to this standard. The subset of mRNA vaccine used during the COVID-19 pandemic may not meet it, yet Dr. Kariku and Dr. Weissman and others deserved to win the prize for their scientific accomplishment. Instead, their doing tells us something important about the world in which science happens and what for all mankind should really mean. Dr. Kariko and Dr. Weissman began working together on the mRNA platform at the University of Pennsylvania in the late 1990s. The university licensed its patents to mRNA Therapeutics, which sub-licensed them to Cellscripts, which sub-licensed them to Moderna and BioNTech for 75 million dollar each. Dr. Kariko joined BioNTech as a senior vice president in 2013 and the company enlisted Pfizer to develop its mRNA vaccine for COVID-19 in 2020. At the expense of the public fund, much of the knowledge that underpins most new drugs and vaccines is unearthed at the expense of government and public funds. This part of the drug development is more risky and protracted when scientists identify potential biomolecular targets within the body on which a drug could act in order to manage a particular disease, followed by identifying suitable chemical candidates. The cost and time estimates of this phase are $1 billion and $1 billion to $2.5 billion and several decades respectively. Companies subsequently commoditize and commercialize these entities, ranking in millions in profit, typically at the expense of the same people whose taxes funded by the fundamental research. There is something to be said for this model of drug and vaccine development, particularly for the innovation it forecast and the eventual competition that lowers price. But we cannot deny the double spend it imposes on consumers, including governments, and the profit-seeking attitude in engender among the companies developing and manufacturing the product. Once Moderna and Pfizer began producing their mRNA COVID-19 vaccine, they were also mired in North America and European countries' zeal to make sure they had more than enough for themselves before allowing manufacturers to export them to the rest of the world. Their use in the other countries, including India, was also complicated by protracted negotiation over pricing and liability on COVAX, the program to ensure proper countries did not become the victims of their subpar purchasing power and had sufficient stocks of mRNA vaccine, fell far short of its target. India, Russia, and China exported billions of doses of their vaccines, but their efforts were also beset by concerns that manufacturing capacity had been overestimated in India's case and overquality is in Russia and China's. There were reports of several countries in Africa having to throw away lakhs of vaccine doses because they had been exported too close to their expiry date. The World Health Organization did urge these countries to use the expired dosage, but such a task presumed an existing base of community engagement and risk communication, which was absent in many of these countries. And Corbevax. A counter-example to the path that Dr. Kariko followed is Corbevax. Researchers at the Baylor College of Medicine, Hudson, and the Texas Children's Hospital Center for Vaccine Development developed this protein subunit vaccine and licensed it to India's Biological E for manufacturing. They did not patent it. In February 2022, Texas politician Elijah Fletcher wrote a letter nominating the vaccine's developer for a Nobel Prize for Peace for their work to develop and distribute a low-cost COVID-19 vaccine to people of the world without patent limitation. Kenya's ambassador to the United Nations, Martin Kimani, commended the developers for providing sorely needed ethical and scientific leadership. We cannot blame our scientists for trying to profit from their work. The mRNA vaccine story during the COVID-19 pandemic simply played an extraordinary premium on altruism on their part, a result of administrator of both their decision. The technology could have benefited everyone during the pandemic, but it did not so. History should remember what actually happened during the pandemic and what the 2023 medicine Nobel claims happened differently. Then next is using AI for audit techniques. The Comptroller and Auditor General of India, Girish Chandra Murmu, who is the chair for Supreme Audit Institution (SAIs) of the G20, warned that absolutely dependence on artificial intelligence for auditing purposes may lead to inaccurate findings and emphasized ethics as the cornerstone of responsible AI. The CAG conduct financial audit, compliance audit, and performance audit. The auditing challenges of AI include ensuring transparency, objectivity, fairness, and avoiding biases. Responsible AI must be ethical and inclusive only. Ethical AI can add credibility, trust, and scalability to the CAG audit. Data set must be complete, gathered on time, accurate, available, and relevant. If integrity of the data field is not ensured, we will have inaccurate audit findings. The AI auditor must be extra vigilant about the risk of inherent AI data bias if data are taken from unauthorized sources like social media, where data manipulation and fabrication are common. India needs AI regulation. In June, the European Parliament approved the European AI Act, the first of its kind in the world. The Act ensures that generative AI tools such as ChatGPT will be placed under greater restriction and scrutiny. Developers will have to submit their system for review and approval before releasing them commercially. Parliament also prohibited real-time biometric surveillance from all public settings and social scoring system. Ensuring the accuracy of vast internet data mines is a challenge. The content generated by AI system may lead to potential copyright infringement issues, violating intellectual property rights. Addressing legal implications relating to content ownership is a formidable task. AI bias is an inherent risk originating from the human bias that is added to the dataset of machine learning. Elon Musk wants to address these concerns by developing Truth GPT, a maximum truth-seeking AI. His vision of a harmonious fusion of technological progress and ethical consideration poses significant challenges. A multifaceted approach may be required to mitigate bias and ensure the safety and accuracy of AI models. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said that he wants to make the UK the geographical home of AI safety regulations. It is time for India also to take a cue from the European Union and make appropriate legislation about the use of AI systems challenge before the CAG. The CAG faces many challenges in auditing. AI faces AI regulation and data standardization are critical since the data for various government entities are taken from different sources and stored in multiple divergent platforms. The AI auditor will face enormous risk and challenges. Audits can't be based on big data from unauthorized sources. Data integration and cross-reference become cumbersome. The data platform of all entities must be synchronized through the government's IT policies. According to the CAG, one Indian Audit and Accounts Department, one system, a web-enabled IT application is going to support multiple languages, offline functionality, and mobile app, enabling complete digitization of the audit process from April 1, 2023, with only one expectation: the defense audit. Because of the security dimension, the SAI G20 conference emphasized the need for a common international audit framework relating to AI. At present, auditors can only adopt and adapt existing framework and regulation relating to IT. There are limited precedents for AI use. The National Audit Institution need to communicate with all the stakeholders. The existing definitions and taxonomies AI must be examined to adopt to what is legally acceptable. Since there is wide variance among AI system and solution, the auditor must adopt an appropriate AI design and architecture while defining the audit's objective, scope, approach, criteria, and methodology. There needs to be capacity building for auditors in variety aspects of the AI technology landscape so that they are familiar with AI frameworks, tools, and softwares. In the absence of explicit AI auditing guidance, auditor must focus on ethics, use authentic data sources to ensure transparency, address legal concerns, and look at deficiencies in IT control and governance. AI audit assignment may require consultation with the data scientist, data engineer, data architects, programmers, and AI specialists. AI outsourcing to third parties while using cloud computing implies the risk of third parties having control of infrastructure. AI domain risks such as big data, machine learning, and cybersecurity must be documented in a risk and control matrix. Compliances issues. Global organizations have developed many AI auditing frameworks. These include the COVID framework for the AI audit, the US Government Accountability Office framework, and the PUSO ERM framework. The UK's Information Commissioner's Office has published a draft guidance on the AI auditing framework. Data protection impact assessment are legally required if organizations use AI systems that process professional personal data and avoid personal data to avoid potential risk. The AI auditor must ensure that personal data is processed in a manner that guarantees appropriate levels of security. With the few framework available for auditing, AI auditor can only focus on the risk controls and governance structure that are in place to determine whether they are operating effectively. The shutdown of the Afghan embassy. On September 30, a statement carrying the seal of Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan announced the closure of the Embassy of Afghanistan in Delhi. The announcement had been anticipated for a while, especially after a report which stated that a letter had been sent from the mission to the Ministry of External Affairs informing of the impending closure. In its official communication, the Embassy of Afghanistan blamed multiple factors, including lack of cooperation from the Government of India and lack of resources to operate any further. Furthermore, the embassy has urged the Indian government to fly the flag of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan over the embassy premises. It has also asked New Delhi to hand over the mission to a legitimate government of Afghanistan sometime in future. In this, the turning point for Afghanistan India relation. The embassy represented the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan that was deposed through a military campaign by the Tibetan on August 15, 2021. The Taliban fighters who quickly took over all the major cities and infrastructure of the country, and as the US forces carried out a massive withdrawal, were not recognized by India as de facto rulers. With the displacement of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, the Embassy of Afghanistan in New Delhi had begun to work as a stateless mission as it did not represent the current rulers of Kabul, that is, the Taliban, with whom India has no diplomatic relationship. In effect, the Embassy of Afghanistan was performing a ceremonial or a symbolic role, helping out Afghan citizens and travelers in India deal with the difficulties they have been facing because of the lack of diplomatic relations between the two countries. The mission has stopped representing an active state since August 2021 and was working as a coordinating agency. Moreover, the ambassador of the previous regime of President Ashraf Ghani, Farid Mujumdeji, left India and has not been seen for over 3 months. Will the move affect travel and trade between Afghan and India? Afghanistan has traditionally maintained an embassy in Delhi and two consulate in Hyderabad and Mumbai. The consulate in Hyderabad and Mumbai have not shut down, and Zakia Wadrak, the Consul General of Afghanistan Islamic Republic, has come out with a statement defying the embassy's announcement to close down the missions, stating that the consulate will continue to function as a part of solemn commitment toward the thousands of Afghan students, refugees, and traders. The announcement of the embassy of the Afghanistan is expected to trigger confusion among Afghan in India, but the consulates are expected to help them. Does this mean that India and Afghanistan has no relationship despite the closure of the embassy in Delhi? India and Afghanistan are continuing engagement with each other in a curious way. India has been maintaining a technical team in Kabul where the staff provides visas to Afghanistan traders and travelers to India. There are two weekly flights that carry Afghan citizens and items to India. India uses the flights while sending humanitarian assistance to the Afghanistan people. That effort, some Indian goods are also entering Afghanistan through other countries like Iran and UAE. However, there are indicative of the informal nature of the relationship, as formal diplomatic ties are unable to take off because India refuses to recognize Taliban, citing human rights abuses by the regime. Will India and Taliban ever establish formal ties? India has not recognized Taliban formally, but Indian diplomats have been engaged with the Taliban since the immediate aftermath of the fall of Kabul in August 2021. India diplomats have met the Taliban's representatives in multiple locations under multilateral initiatives like the recent Moscow formal dialogues on September 29. India sent a representative to Kazan Tatarstan in Russia to engage with the Taliban under the Moscow format dialogue. That apart, Taliban is quickly gaining international recognition from the rival powers like China, which sent a new ambassador to Kabul in September, with Iran, Pakistan, and UAE, Russia, Qatar, and China warming ties with the Taliban. There is obvious pressure on the India to reconsider its position on the Taliban. The Taliban has been urging India to support it with its economic revitalization through projects like electricity generation and road building works. India, however, had not yet indicated that it will review its position on the Taliban. The embassy of Afghanistan in Delhi is one of the oldest diplomatic addresses in the capital, and India has never allowed the Taliban to operate from that address, even when it governed Afghanistan from 1996 to 2001. Then next, how has Nagorno Karabakh standoff ended? How has Nagorno-Karabakh standoff ended? On September 20, Azerbaijan claimed full control over the contentious Nagorno-Karabakh region after the local forces, mostly Americans, agreed to disarm and disband. Hundreds of local Americans fled the area overnight, fearing ethnic cleansing by Azerbaijan, while the disputed region is home to a majority population of ethnic Americans and an Azeri minority. It is internationally recognized as a part of Azerbaijan. What happened? A fresh round of violence broke out in September when Azerbaijan launched an attack against ethnic Armenian forces in Nagorno-Karabakh. The fighting lasted one day and a ceasefire was announced a day later in a statement. U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said that the Secretary of the State Antonio Blinken spoke with the Armenian Prime Minister Nicolo Pashinyan and expressed deep concerns for the ethnic Armenian population in the disputed region. What is the history of the conflict? Nagorno-Karabakh is located within the international borders of Azerbaijan. It is in the south coast Caucasus, Caucasus region between Eastern Europe and Western Asia, spanning the southern part of the Caucasus Mountain that roughly includes modern-day Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Georgia. The conflict between Azeris and Armenian goes back a century when the Ottomans were attacked the South Caucasus during World War One with the help of Azeris. They targeted ethnic Armenians during this attack, and the conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenian descended into a full-blown war in 1920. This war incorporated the region into the Azerbaijan's democratic republic. Soon after, both countries became part of Soviet Republic, and Nagorno-Karabakh was made an autonomous oblast administrative region in Azerbaijan's territory. When the Soviet Union disintegrated in 1991, full-scale fighting against broke out between the countries as the Armenian rebels declared Nagorno-Karabakh an independent territory. The war lasted till 1994 and killed around 30,000 people. In 1994, Azerbaijan and Armenia entered a ceasefire brokered by Russia, but international borders for the countries were not demarcated. A four-day war broke out between the two countries in 2016, with no resolution being arrived at. What happened in 2020? In 2020, Azerbaijan President Ilham Aliyev launched an offensive to take Nagorno-Karabakh back, leading the country into a furious war with Armenia that lasted 6 weeks and killed more than 2,000 people. The Azeri forces attacked Armenian defenses and took back 40% of Nagorno-Karabakh. Azerbaijan was backed by Turkey, and while Armenia's ally Russia did little to support Armenia, it helped broker to a ceasefire. However, despite the ceasefire, Azerbaijan did not give up attempts to capture Nagorno-Karabakh. In December 2022, it blockaded the Lachen corridor, the main road connecting Nagorno-Karabakh to Armenia and the rest of the world, adding to the economic misery of the region. The road was blocked under the pretext of environmental concerns. How did Azerbaijan capture the area? Experts believe that Turkey had a big role to play in the latest development in the Nagorno-Karabakh region. Turkey, however, denied any direct involvement in Azerbaijan's offensive. Reuters reported, although it is a political and military supporter of Azerbaijan, Russia's absence in the Caucasus is owed to its war in Ukraine as retaliation for Russia's lack of help over the last few years. Armenia voted to join the International Criminal Court despite Russia's warning. The ICC has issued a warrant for the arrest of Russian President Vladimir Putin. Over 1 lakh ethnic Armenians from Nagorno-Karabakh have fled to Armenia in the last 1 week, and the WHO estimates the exodus has triggered a massive humanitarian crisis. Then next, toilet use decline in rural India since 2018-19 World Bank paper. A departmental working paper by the World Bank on the progress of the Swachh Bharat Mission Gramin SBMG has now found that despite breathtaking gain made by the program, to, to bring toilet access to rural India since 2014-15 when it began, there has been a clear trend of regular toilet use decline in rural India from 2018-19 with the largest drop being seen among scheduled caste and scheduled tribe socio-economic groups. These findings come amid concerns over the government's claims that practices such an open defecations and manual scavenging no longer continue in India solely based on the fact that the toilet access has improved after the building of over 100 million toilets. The paper by researchers at the World Bank and a faculty member of the economics at Yale University reconciles variety data points on the toilet access and usage from the National Family Health Survey (NFHS), National Family Survey (NSS), and National Urban Rural Sanitation Survey (NARSS), and the SBMG's own information system. The paper also said that most low-income states were among the best performers in terms of their overall increase in regular use of toilet and that the performance of richer states was mixed. Trio wins a Nobel Prize. Trio wins a Nobel Prize in physics for finding a way to see electrons. France Peire Agostini, Hungarian, Austrian, French Krauss and French-Swedish Annie L. Wheeler won the Nobel Prize in Physics on Tuesday for the research of using ultra-quick light flashes that enable the study of the electrons inside atoms and molecules. Their techniques employs pulses measured in attoseconds, a unit so short that there are as many in 1 second as there have been seconds since the universe birth over 13 billion years ago, the jury said. The laureates research has made it possible to examine moves or changes so rapid that everywhere so that there were so they were previously impossible to follow with potential application in both electronics and medical diagnosis. An anecdote: the Royal Swedish Academy of Science likened the process to how the flapping wings of hummingbird turn into a blur for the human eye, but can be slowed and examined using high-speed photograph. We can now open the door to the world of electron astroseconds. Physics gives us the opportunity to understand mechanisms that are governed by the electrons. Eva Olson, chair of the Nobel Committee for Physics, said in 1987 Ms. L. Wheeler discovered that many different overtones of light arose when she transmitted infrared laser light through a noble gas. The Nobel Committee noted in the early 2000s Mr. Agostini and Mr. Krauss worked on experiments that made it possible to isolate light pulses that lasted only a few hundred attoseconds. Mr. Agostini is a professor at Ohio State University in the US, while Mr. Krauss is a director at the Max Planck Institute in Germany. Fifth woman winner, Ms. L. Wheeler, only the fifth woman to be awarded the physics prize since 1901 is a professor at Lund University in Sweden. Ms. L. Wheeler told reporters she was in the middle of teaching a class when she received a call for the academy, making it difficult to finish the class, to whom she told nothing. Speaking later at a press conference, she encouraged young women interested in a career in science to go for it. Then next way, manufacturing. PMI slipped to 5 months low. India manufacturing activity eased to a 5-month low in September with new order slowing down as per the seasonally adjusted S&P Global India Manufacturing Purchasing Manager Index, which slid to 57.5 from 58.6 in August, a reading of 50 on the survey. Bed index reflects no change in activity levels, while input cost inflation slowed to the lowest in more than 3 years. Farms raised output charges at a sharper pace than the long run average, which could hurt sales prospects going forward. Manufacturers cited higher labor cost combined with upbeat business confidence and a buoyant demand as the rationale for the price increases. In September, growth of new export order softened from August's 9-month high but remained sharp. S&P Global Market Intelligence said in a note firms noted new businesses gains from clients in Asia, Europe, North America, and the Middle East. It added factories output rose at a slowest pace in 5 months, but was still above the long-term average, and firm excluded the highest optimism about business prospects a year ahead so far. In 2023, this was showed a pick-up in hiring growth over August level at a pace that S&P Global reckoned was strong by historical standards. Signs of a slowdown. India's manufacturing industry slowed mid signs of a slowdown in September, primarily due to a softer increase in new orders, which tempered production growth, noted Colin D. Lima, the firm's economic associates director. Nevertheless, both demands and output saw significant uptake, and the manufacturer held a strongly positive outlook for the production. She added, upbeat forecast continued to drive job creation efforts and initiative to replenish input stocks. Together, these indices point towards a favorable trajectory for Indian manufacturing industry. MSD Lima observed, however, the appreciable increase in output changes despite receding cost pressures could restrict sales in the coming months, she cautioned. Then the last article है World Bank keeps India financial year 2024 growth forecast at 6.3% on winning demand. The World Bank on Tuesday retained India's growth forecast at 6.3% for the year 2023-24, saying the expected moderation was due to challenging external conditions and waning pent-up demand. The World Bank had in April to projected 6.3% GDP growth for 23-24. India recorded 7.2% growth in 22-23. According to the RBI latest forecast, the economy would grow 6.5% in 23-24. In its latest India development update, the bank noted that service sector activity was expected to remain strong with a growth 7.4%, and investment growth was also projected to remain robust 8.9%. The bank said despite significant global challenges, India was one of the fastest growing major economies in 2022-23 at 7.2%. India's growth rate was the second highest among G20 countries and almost twice the average of emerging market economies. According to the World Bank's country's director, India, Augustino Kaume, For India to become a high-income country, one of the critical aspects required would be a higher female labor force participation rate. The average level of female labor force participation rate for emerging market economies is about 50% and it is 25% for India, he added. So friends, this is all for today and we will meet from tomorrow onwards with a new newspaper analysis from the Hindu newspaper. So thanks a lot. Thank you all.